I think the first thing to do is obviously to analyse what is public relations. So what is it and what do practitioners do? Well, it very much depends on your experience. In other words, what you've seen on TV, what you've read in magazines. Because at one extreme, PR can be seen as a kind of propaganda where control is absolutely crucial. And you probably think back to the imagery of fascism in the 1930s when you were studying history. For others, it's about spin, and particular political spin, and the work of communications directors in British politics, in particular in recent years, whether it be Labour or Tory governments. Others will see it as people who set the political agenda, and that can involve manipulation, in fact lying as well. And then there are people who see PR people as involved in publicity. They are pure publicists, and these are the people who work with celebrities, whether they're actors or sports people or whatever. Then there are others, through experience, will look at PR and say, well, that's about specific aspects of public relations. So they'll say PR is about media relations, or PR is about event management. But for many, I think, who are reasonably knowledgeable, they'll say that PR people, PR professionals are those who manage reputations, who deal with communication campaigns, who are involved in a wide spectrum of organisations, from sport to health, from churches to charities. So for many, PR people can be perceived as either liars or they can be perceived as lifesavers. It can be that broad. I think the best way to start is to look at the activities of PR people. What actually do we do? And most of us write publications. We're involved in publication writing, and that can be for in-house or outside. We're involved in particular in media relations, dealing with print and broadcast media, and try and get positive coverage within the press. And then importantly, I suppose alongside that, is to look at photography and the recognition of the power of photography in getting our organisation or our clients particular photographs within the paper. Extremely powerful medium. We're involved in speech writing. We're involved in very big, often and very critical events and exhibitions for our organisations. We're involved increasingly in sponsorship deals. And today, sadly, we're also having to deal with crises. And if we just go a stage back there, we're also involved in what we call issue management. And that's dealing with communication problems within organisations and perception of organisations, and stopping, quite often, hopefully, crises actually happening, whether it's terrorist attack or whether it's community or national disasters. So issue and crisis management increasingly an important part of the PR portfolio. We're involved in websites and social media, digital media, new media, video and CD-ROM, where increasingly our organisations are using them to communicate and to listen to and to create dialogue with key publics. We're involved in local communities, in community relations. We're involved quite obviously in lobbying government, in making sure the issues of which our organisations, which are important to our organisations, are on the public agenda. And at a higher level, PR people are involved in organisational strategy and tactics, whether that is for communicating with external publics or internal publics. That's a particularly higher level than some of the other things that we're actually involved in. Other academics refer to PR people in the contextual sense of they list things that we're also involved in. For example, Jackie Latang in 2008 text talked about PR people involved in communication acts. They're also involved, as a matter of fact, also in sometimes being silent and advising organisations, look, we say nothing here. And that is rare, but there are particular reasons for doing it. We're involved in promotion, advocacy, persuasion, diplomacy, interpreting perceptions and assessing relationships with publics outside our organisation, very important. We're important about establishing content for discussion. We obviously get involved in debate, and sometimes we have to get involved in denial, and sometimes we're involved, very importantly, with apology as well. Also, as Jackie Latan notes, we're involved in building identity and bringing brand value. But as Tim Traverse-Healy, one of the greats of the PR profession, said, crucial to all these things, all these activities that PR people are involved in, is truth, concern for the public interest, and dialogue. Now, if they're not there, then really this isn't public relations, it's more to do with propaganda. Many students, of course, start with those lists, but for others what is very, very important is to have kind of definitions. And for that, I often start with the British professional definition, the Chartered Institute of Professional Public Relations, the Chartered Institute of Public Relations definition of what is public relations. And they say that public relations practice is the planned and sustained effort to establish and maintain goodwill and mutual understanding between an organisation and its publics. And they add that public relations is about reputation, the result of what you do, what you say, and what others say about you. Now, that is important because, as the word suggests, it's planned communication, it's sustained communication, it's just not one-off, we keep at it. And our objective is to establish and maintain goodwill and understanding. And that gives an idea that we're not just involved in persuasion, but listening and dialogue. All very, very important. In particular, I particularly like Professor Broom from the United States definition. You know, after 10 texts of a core textbook in 2009, he concluded that PR is the planned effort to influence opinion through good character and responsible performance based on mutually satisfactory two-way communications. Now, while I think we all recognise that two-way communications is not for everybody, and that asymmetrical communication or one-way communication is extremely relevant to public relations, I think that is a fair definition, again, of what PR is all about. So for me, I think it's a number of things. It's being aware, it's knowledgeable, it's having solutions to communication problems, it's knowing the past of and the environment in which you're working and the organisation who you work for. It's about listening and communicating in all forms, in the right way, at the right time, based on a specific plan. It's about communicating the truth in a way that will be understood and listened to. It's about being aware if the communication and PR tactics are actually working, or perhaps even more so if they're not working. And for me, I always emphasize the point, it's about what we call ADA. It's about attention, interest, desire, and action. We must always remember that public relations is not necessarily all about grabbing attention. It goes beyond that. It's about attention, it's about getting the interest, it's about getting the desire, and it's about people's behaviour, in other words, action. And in health communication, sometimes it's about attention, interest, understanding of what was being said, and then action. Those things, very, very important for me, what PR is about. And finally, it's about, you know, being a monitor of organisational environment, being a communicator, and at the same time being the conscience of the organisation in terms of its communication, which I think is very, very important indeed. I think there are three other points that I think we should mention. That first, that public relations has become politically, economic, socially more important than ever in helping society and helping individuals. And as society continues to become more, I suppose, massive, more impersonal, more segmented, the need for PR grows. Organisations in all forms and sectors need to communicate, and that makes our industry, our profession, very, very important. And the third point I want to make really is the changing landscape of public relations, where it used to be the traditional media was the most important thing. I think now what we're seeing is, as well as traditional media, the new role for digital media and social media, and the impact it's having and is going to have in the future on the public relations industry and the way organisations communicate. Also, I think I always emphasise the point of what we're about in terms of management. When we look at issues, when we look at problems, when we look at opportunities, we're always thinking of four particular things: changing hostility to an organisation to sympathy, prejudice to acceptance, apathy to interest, and ignorance to knowledge. And for all young professionals, PR professionals, I think that is or sometimes a starting point to think along those particular lines.